Something I have been waiting to do with the one and only Anna Kelly is share millionaire secrets. Both her and I have obviously earned that badge, but more importantly, we are constantly in rooms and seek out rooms with millionaires, decamillionaires, and even folks worth nine figures. So, Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. So good to be here. I love this topic because you
So
know
do
what?
I.
The number one question I'm asked is how do I create wealth? How do I become a millionaire? What do I need to do? Tell me the secret. So let's tell a few.
Yeah, let's tell a few again. You and I are in rooms. We're always seeking to grow. We're not done ourselves. But when you step back and you think about your journey or maybe a lesson or a secret from other millionaires, where do you want to start? Ladies first.
I think I could just start with, neither one of us were born with a silver spoon in our mouths, so to say. We started out without any money and without any financial education, and we had to figure it out. And it took a long time. There is no real quick way to millions that's not either a scam or just a fluke that you happen to be one of the very, very few phenoms in,
Mm.
acting or singing or YouTube, or whatever it might be, athletes. So it is very possible for an average person that comes from nothing to become a millionaire. It's just going to take time to get there.
Yeah, I love that one. I want everybody watching this to know that you could become a millionaire. I interview people every week with crazy beginnings, Section 8 housing, ninth grade dropout, divorce, three kids, 250K in credit card debt. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stories. So you're absolutely right. First is you need to believe it's possible. I think the second one, kind of on your end, is I want people to know it's a 10-year process. This is not a get rich quick. This is not you know, it's not a 10-day, 10-month journey. It's a 10-year journey. But oh, by the way, you're going to hopefully live 50, 60, 70 years. So if it takes 10 years, is it okay? I mean, the other option is to work 40 hours for 40 years to live on 40%. I
Yeah,
mean,
and it's even worse than that, Michael. So it's work 45 years to make $1 million to live on 4% per year.
exactly.
It's the
Oh,
4% year rule. So
yeah.
if you're comfortable living on $40,000 a year, then sure, you can survive into retirement. But that was the
Ugh.
plan, 25 years ago when I was in private banking. How many of you can say that our cost of living has gone up substantially then and $40,000 is at poverty level today? I mean,
Oh,
listen to that. The
yeah.
rule of getting a million with in your 401k growing at an average 9 or 10% so that you can live on 40% puts you at poverty level in retirement. How many want to sign up for that plan?
Not
I
me.
didn't. I knew it wasn't a good idea back then when I was in private banking, right? Even though that's what I was trained upon. I thought, well, if I'm going to only, live on I was making more than $40,000 a year when I was in private banking in 1998. So I was like, why would I want to live on less than when
Yeah,
I'm
that
retired
doesn't sound
than
good.
I have now? I need to find a way to do it faster. And the only way you're going to do that is to be able to start, actively growing your wealth, putting more than just a
Yeah.
little bit aside every month, dollar cost averaging into the stock market. You're going to have to start finding some kind of side hustles or passive investment. So I guess that's another thing too, is I knew that I was not going to create the life that I wanted to live and really grow wealth. And I really wasn't looking to grow wealth in the beginning either. I just wanted to create more money, more income, so that I had enough to take care of my kids and I could be home with them while they
Yeah.
were young, but also be able to invest in my future. And it turned out that I think I shared this story with you one time. For 10 years, my goal was replace my six-figure income, and I was buying one rental at a time. It took me 10 years, one, which was much longer than I thought it was. And I wish I had known that 10 years is a good plan. I thought in 2 to 3 years, I'm going to do it. Well, I was investing since 1998, but I started really getting serious about it in 2007. But at the same time, we went into $700,000 of business startup debt in
Woo!
2007. So my
Fun.
income, we were living on my income while my husband was building his business, but my income wasn't just all of our expense. We had to use part of my income to pay some of his employees' salaries while he built a business and to pay down that $700,000 in debt. So not only did I go from zero, but I went from negative $700,000 net worth, literally, and a lot of debt. And then the great financial crisis hit. And so it was like, how are we going to dig ourselves out of this? So it took me 10 years to become a millionaire. But that was also with a lot of insurmountable things and having to pay off close to $1 million, let's face it,
Mm,
of debt as well. And it was possible for us, but I knew the only way it was going to happen is if I created enough passive income to be able to take care of my family and not have to work. So financial freedom and income was my goal. But what happened was when I got ready to retire, I wanted to refinance some of my properties. And I had to fill out a PFS for the first time, a personal financial statement.
oh
And
yeah.
it wasn't until I filled out that PFS. My first local banks really didn't make me have to do that. They just, give me a list of your properties, what you own, what the debts are, what your income is. But I really didn't, I wasn't thinking about net worth, but it was the first time I went, oh my gosh, we're
Mhm.
millionaires. How is this possible? We don't
I
feel like
remember that
millionaires.
day too.
We
Yeah.
still live check to check. But the reason we lived check to check is because everything we made, we put back into buying the next one and the next
Mhm.
one and the next one. We didn't take that income until we built, what we needed to have financial freedom. So I would say there's a lot of little lessons in that, but
Mhm.
seek to replace your income first with a
Yeah.
side hustle that's going to give you extra money so that you can then go invest in growing your income and your net worth. And the
Hmm.
second thing is living below your means, reinvesting your investment profits for several years until you know you've created the net worth that you want. And then after you've done that, then you can afford to take some rental income and, live on it as well or increase your lifestyle just a little bit.
Yeah. One of the ones that I really press is this whole notion of multiple streams of income. I personally haven't met a millionaire or multimillionaire or decamillionaire who didn't build that wealth in one thing. They may have multiple streams of income now for diversification and playing or whatever they want to do, but their millionaire status came from being just laser focused on one thing. I think too many people on their journey are splitting their finite resource time in multiple areas and not becoming great at anything. And I think
Absolutely.
that's a huge mistake.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And it's very easy in this world of social media to say, oh, this person made their money in storage, or this one made it in Bitcoin, or this one made it in Amazon drop shipping, or, whatever it is. And then I see people and they dabble in all of it. And then some of it goes well, some of it doesn't, but their time is too split. And so
Mm-hmm.
you need to become excellent at
Yes.
one thing first. And that one thing creating excellence, becoming that market expert and knowing what you know and then getting it fine tuned so that you can make it
Mm-hmm.
profitable. That's the most important thing first. And then once it's really running well, then and only then can you afford to say, could I add something to it? And that adding something to it could be, if it's going to take any of your time and energy, it's going to be active passive income. We all call it passive income when it's an extra, when it's something
Mm-hmm.
outside of our day job. But the reality for most millionaires too is it's active for several years. It's built on blood, sweat, and tears. Then once you've got that down to a science, you can systematize, you can hire, you can automate. Then it becomes much, much more passive for you oftentimes. But initially, the only thing passive that I think most people do that become millionaires is they're diversifying some of their extra into other investments that are completely hands off and passive. I
Mm-hmm.
can see success there. But we have this this squirrel syndrome. I've seen it, and I would guess more than half, maybe two-thirds of my coaching students that come to me and they're like, well, what about this? And what about this? And I'm doing this and this and this. And I'm like, you're not focused. Let's get the squirrel syndrome away and let's focus on one thing, two things at the most, because that's all you can really do and stay really good at it and become profitable.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What's another secret you've gathered from millionaire friends?
I say this all the time. It's if I only had one piece of advice to give to people, it would be live below your means while you
Mm,
work to expand your means. And, many different people out there. We had a great show last week. I've told lots of people about it. If you have kids, please have them listen to it. Especially if they're high school, college age, young married, where we talked about this, very important concept of living below your means while you work to expand your means. Many people will say, you don't need to cut out the coffee. That's what our topic was, right?
yeah.
Or you don't need to give up enjoying life so that one day you can build riches. And there's some truth to that, but you can enjoy life and do it less expensively. You've got
Mhm.
to have the patience to be able to say, I can delay gratification in certain areas. I pick the things that are really important for me to have joy today. And I might spend a little more on those things today because they're important to me. But in exchange, I'm going to give up a lot of other things so that I live below my means, so that I have more net cash flow, spendable, expendable income. I make money. I'm not like the 80% who live check to check. I'm going to have extra left over every month and I'm going to invest it. And it's that investing it that helps you to become a millionaire, relatively quickly in let's say a 10-year time span. But if you don't live below your means first, you are not going to have the discipline and the habits of delaying gratification. Instead of being I need this now to make me happy. Oh, I'm in a funk. Let me go buy an outfit. Oh, I'm in a funk. Let me go on a vacation with my friends. Like, we don't self-medicate with things and stuff and subscriptions. So cut your expenses a little bit. That's going to help you to have more expendable income. That's going to help you to invest and grow your wealth. And for me, it was selling my big house in Texas. It was living with my in-laws for free for a year,
Mm,
eating some humble pie in my 30s and saying, we're going to do this because it's what's going to help us to get ahead and reset. And then we bought a 4 unit with 2 kids and we house hacked and learned how to renovate our apartment. It was the best decision we ever made because my living expenses, my taxes, my insurance, my home payment was covered by my tenants. So everything I made, part of it had to go again to pay employees at my husband's business and pay down some of that debt. But I had quite a bit that I was able to save every month to create the down payment on my next
yeah.
rental property, on my next. And I never could have done that, Michael, if I hadn't learned to live below my means, but not just cut out expenses just to cut expenses. The second piece of that is you have to then invest it so that you don't go and spend it later on more stuff.
No, absolutely. One of the things that I believe is you also got to get like if you want to go for it, like if you're going to go for it, it's going to take a while. It's going to sacrifice, live below your means. You're going to have to get in new rooms or get new friends because again, I think it was Warren Buffett said this first. I believe, right? You're the sum or the average of the five people you hang out with. I would ask you to look at your five friends. Are they millionaires? The answer is no. I don't like your chances, right? So one of the things that I've did accidentally, but now do purposefully, is I curating the five people that I spend the most time with because I think it's
Yeah.
important to keep growing because if you stay with the same five friends and you go for it, I promise you they're going to A, make fun of you, and B, they're going to be like that crab pulling you back into the pot, right? Stay with us, stay with us. They're not going to let you grow.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, you can have friends and you can have family, obviously who don't have money and that's fine. But if you're taking advice from them
Oh,
or, they're complaining about, life and how hard things are and how expensive things are, and they're never thinking of solutions. Like if I'm regurgitating my problems, let's commiserate
yeah,
together. It's
right.
not good for your psyche to spend a significant amount of time with those people. You should be spending more time with people that are positive, encouraging, uplifting, that are going to think about how do we get solutions to make our lives better and then do it together. And one of the things that I do regret, we learned so much from our path. I thank God I was able to figure it out. But I was very alone on an island. It was my husband
Mhm.
and I didn't know other people really in real estate. I didn't know there were different ways to do things. And when the great financial crisis hit and we had 700,000 in debt and I worked for
Oh,
AIG and was losing my job, I lost my 401k. I'm like, what do I do? Like, this seems like the world is ending. Like, it was
yeah.
so hard. Found out that same week, I'll never forget, I was pregnant with my third child. And it was just like, how are we
Wow.
going to put food on the table? And I had no one to really seek advice from because I didn't have a network. And so I think, it took me probably 3 years, Michael, after the GFC, because of our amount of debt and because I worked for AIG, banks did not want to lend to me. And because banks weren't lending to real estate investors, real
Oh,
estate values
I
were falling.
remember.
So I had like every negative thing you could, other than I had great credit. That was my good thing. And I was like, isn't my good credit enough to pay, overcome these other things? And banks were like, absolutely no.
No,
So it was
no, no, it's not.
was like 3 years that banks wouldn't give us loans. And I was so defeated. So we just kept working on our own properties, making them nicer, knowing eventually the values would come up and we'd be okay again. But it wasn't until I decided to go to a real estate networking meeting locally. And I said, I'm going to go to a networking meeting. And there they talked about seller financing. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay. And that night, a guy stood up and said, I have a property I want to sell. So I was like, would you consider seller financing? He goes, I love seller financing. Absolutely. I don't want to pay capital gains. So it was that network that got me thinking about seller financing.
Mm.
Meet the first guy that I bought a property from. And after I did that deal, I bought a 4 unit from this gentleman on seller financing. I didn't need the banks. He told a friend, I bought his property. He told a friend, I bought another property. I bought 3 properties in 3 months, 12 more units because I finally developed a network. And then that made me say, I shouldn't have done this alone all this time. I would have gone much faster if I had a network of people that could think outside the box, encourage me as to what was possible, and to come up with solutions rather than just, wallow in the despair of the great financial crisis.
Yeah, it's all about the network. And again, if you're going to go for it, which I hope you do, you've got to get in new rooms with new people. It's eye-opening. It's so many
Yeah.
stories like that I've heard over the years. And
Yeah.
one of the
And you
best
have to be
things,
careful.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, one of the best things about the event over the weekend in my Facebook group, just a private group, is thousands of people doing the work, sharing their stories,
Yes.
sharing the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Right? They're listening. They're sending words of encouragement. You know how awesome it is to be in a room with other people doing the work versus pretenders or grifters or any of that yuck. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And just to add that, be very careful about who you add to your network. You need to watch them for a while because
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who talk a good talk. They exaggerate what they have. They exaggerate how long they've been doing things and they take advantage of people. And so you need to be really careful to make sure that before you start adding people to your network, they have a track record of integrity and they've been in a business a long time. Ask people about them. What do you know about, Joe
Yeah.
Black? Tell me about him. Tell me what he's been
Yeah.
doing. You need to surround yourself with people of integrity. And that kind of piggybacks to the next thing that I would say is be really careful who you partner with and who you do
Yes.
deals with. Because what I've seen too much, and we both speak at events, and I've spoken at a lot of events over the last couple of years. It's crazy how many people will reach out to me and say, "Can we partner? Can we do a deal together?"
Mhm.
And I don't know them. I'm like, "You don't know me, or you go to an event and people partner up that are both newbies. We talked a little bit
Mm.
about this on the channel, I think last week or maybe the week
Yeah.
before. How many new people got together to syndicate deals who had never done an apartment complex. Some of them never owned real estate at all. And
Never
so
owned a virtual home.
no. And so, but they found each other at a conference and like, hey, I like you. You like me. Let's do a deal together. And then they go find the deal. They do the deal. And then they're like, oh no, what do we
Whoops.
do? Because no
Yeah.
one had experience. So don't partner with someone that one, you haven't gotten to know. Partnering is like a marriage. It could last for years. And if you don't know the person, there's this new Netflix show. I turned it on one time and I couldn't believe it. I haven't watched it again, but I think it's called like 90 Day Fiance.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
people meet and it's like 90 days and then they're married and they're like, oh, I didn't know this person. Well,
Wow.
Duh, what do you think is going to come from that for most people? Like, here's your
Yeah.
sign, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
For most people, yeah. Yeah.
when you're partnering up in real estate, you need to have deep questions and you need to say, well, are our financial goals aligned? Is our experience aligned? Do we bring different things to the table? So if I'm a newbie and I'm going to create a network, if I want to partner with someone that has a lot of experience, I need to bring something substantial to the table. I need to
Hmm.
be the one willing to do the grunt work, find the deals, bring some money. If I don't have it, but I'm learning and I have more experience than the money partner, then fine. But ask questions. Are your financial goals aligned? Like if you need to create equity and growth, but your partner that has experience are like, I don't care about growth. I'm in asset preservation mode because I think the economy is bad. It's never going to work because if your
Right.
goals are not aligned, you're going to want to sell at different times. You're going to want to refi at different times. One of you might care about cash flow more than the other does. One of you might think that if you're going to be successful, you must be available to answer every call 80 hours a week, where the other partner might be like, I want freedom. I've got 20 hours a week. So ask those questions, make sure you're well aligned, make sure you're partnering with people that have different qualities than you, different experience level than you, can bring something to the table, and that they absolutely have integrity. It's really important.
No, couldn't agree more. You got one final one to kind of leave the audience with?
I would say just learn to be content with what you have while you grow into
Hmm.
obtaining all you've ever meant to be, meant to enjoy. There was a book that I read and it really resonated with me because it was kind of what I had been warring within myself constantly for years. It's like I'm working so hard to replace my income because my why was I wanted so desperately to be home with my kids. So all my drive and wanting to climb up the corporate ladder and all of that, I mean, I still had it, but it kind of took a back seat to wanting to be a mom and wanting to be home for a period. And I wasn't able to do it for a very long time. And it took me so much longer than I thought. So I grieved not being able to be home with my kids. And I worked 70 to 80 hours a week for a
Mm.
decade, Michael. You're going to have to work a long time. But I gave up too many things to just get a little more work done and get that next deal. And I wish that I had taken vacations earlier. We talked about that, right? So I was I'm an all or nothing person. Like if I'm going to go after my health, it's 200%. If I'm going to go
Right.
after buying properties, it's 200%. And we all try to have balance. I coach people on balance. I have found a much better way to do it than what I did it originally. But the reality is you need to make sure that while you're trying to grow wealth, you don't lose your life and lose your soul and lose your family and lose your health in the process. Like the
Yeah.
pursuit of wealth in and of itself can really destroy people because we're not content to take time to enjoy what we do have now while we're pursuing more. So make sure that either, like I said, the book, The Life and Air, it's all about being a millionaire of life, even if you're not a millionaire of dollars. And essentially it talks to you about things like take the vacation, but
Yeah.
live below your means in other areas to save some money for that vacation. Don't put it on credit card debt, right? Don't go buy the boat because you want time on the water, but go rent a boat for the weekend. Like, still have enjoyment of the things that you want. Don't think you have to wait until you've arrived, until you've met your goal, such that you give up so much time because you think it's not possible for me. So find little ways to enjoy your health, enjoy vacations with your family, rent the experience instead of buy it so you don't go into debt, and
Yeah.
just enjoy life in the process. Take, instead of working 70, 80 hours a week, so what if it takes you 11 or 12 years? If you can have good health and good relationships and enjoy life along the way, work 50 or 60 hours a week. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen in 40. If you have a full-time job, you got to work 10, 20 hours extra a week to build the side hustle. It's just going to
Hmm.
take that. But don't kill yourself to pursue
Yeah.
wealth, because wealth in and of itself misses the point. It's a wonderful tool to create lots of opportunities for you to enjoy, the finer things in life with your family, but at least find a way to rent that and to be
Hmm.
content and to take time to live and enjoy life in the process of growing wealth. I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. At the end of the day, this has been a lot about wealth and a lot about money, but I never want to forget if you are truly happy and you are happy every day, you have already won. Life is about being
Yes.
happy, and it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. If you are truly happy, I want to congratulate you. I want to say you have won the race. Good for you. Anna, where can people find you?
Great. You can find me here every week and on my playlist on your channel. You can find me on social media, Anna Kelly, REI Mom. And if you're looking for real estate coaching, consulting, or deal review advice, you can find me at AnnaKellyInvesting.com.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.